Alrighty, good morning, Danielle. How are you today?
Fine.
Alrighty, my name is Crystal. I'm going to be your provider today, and today we're going to do a cardiac assessment.
Okay.
Okay, now wash my hands. The assessment is going to start with inspection. So I'm looking at the upper extremities, I'm looking at the pericardial area, making sure that we have symmetry, making sure there's no lifts or no heaves. I don't see any bruising, lacerations, or dislocations. Taking a look at the fingers, making sure that capillary refill is less than 3 in all fingers, which it is. I'll also take a look at the lower extremities right here is good. Making sure that we don't have any pallor cyanosis, there's no clubbing in either of the fingernails. Also going to be looking for capillary refill in both of the feet and all of the toes, making sure that capillary refill is less than 3 seconds. And we're good there. Alrighty, come on back down. So next we're going to move on to the next part, which is palpation. So I am going to palpate all of the precardial points, feeling for any thrills, making sure that the pulses are not diminished or bounding. Okay, so we'll start here, which is our aortic area, making sure we don't feel for any thrills, not diminished, not bounding, it's +2. Then we'll move on to the pulmonic area, Erb's point, which is at the 3rd left intercostal space. We'll move to the tricuspid, which is at the 4th left intercostal space. At the 5th intercostal space is mitral area, right at the midclavicular line. Then the epigastric area to the left of midline, right below the xiphoid process. All of these areas were normal with no thrills, not diminished, not bounding, +2 in all areas. And then next we'll move on to palpation. We're going to palpate, you want to lay down in the supine position. Here, I'm going to palpate all of these areas. This is the point of maximal impulse, which is present at the midclavicular line. Not laterally displaced. If I felt any lateral displacement, that would be an indication of heart enlargement, and I don't feel anything like that. So go ahead and sit back up for me. We're going to feel for radial pulses. I don't feel any thrills. It's +2 bilaterally. Here we're feeling our brachial pulses, no thrills, +2 bilaterally, not diminished and not bounding. Then we're feeling our carotid, +2 bilaterally, no thrills noted, not diminished and not bounding. And we can feel our temporal area, +2, not diminished, not bounding, no thrills noted. Also, I would want to feel go ahead and lay back just a little bit. There you go. The femoral arteries, no thrills, +2, not bounding and not diminished. The popliteal arteries right behind the kneecap area, no thrills noted, +2, not diminished and not bounding. And we have our tibial arteries, which are right in the ankle area, +2, not bounding, not diminished. And then we've got our dorsalis pedis, +2, no thrills noted, not bounding, not diminished. We'll go ahead and have you sit up. Next part of the exam would be the auscultation. And for this, I'm going to listen to heart sounds in all of our 6 precardial areas, and we'll listen with the diaphragm and with the bell of the stethoscope. And we'll start here at the aortic. This is at the second right intercostal space. S1, S2 noted, no S3 or S4. We'll move on to the pulmonic, which is at the second left intercostal space along the sternal border. Move on to Erb's point, which is at the third left intercostal space along the sternal border. Moving on to the tricuspid, which is at the fourth left intercostal space along the sternal border. And moving on to the mitral area, which is at the fifth left intercostal space, mid-clavicular line. And then we're listening for the epigastric area, which is just to the left of midline below the xiphoid process. And we're going to listen to all of these areas with the diaphragm and the bell of the stethoscope. And we're listening for any gallops, any murmurs, any friction rubs, or valve clicks, which none were noted here. We're going to listen in the 3 positions. So that first position would be with the patient leaning forward. And then the next position is going to be the lateral, left lateral decubitus position. And we're going to listen for all areas, starting with the aortic, moving on to pulmonic, Erb's point, tricuspid, mitral, and epigastric area. In this position, I'm going to listen with the diaphragm and the bell of my stethoscope. S1 can best be heard over the apex, which is the mitral area, while S2 can best be heard over the aortic area. Other possible sounds would be S3, which can best be heard over the mitral area with the patient in this left lateral decubitus position. S4 can be heard over the mitral area, also in the left lateral decubitus position. We've got the split S1 and split S2, which can best be heard over the tricuspid area for S1, and for split S2, best heard over the pulmonic valve. It up. Actually, we're going to also listen with you in the supine, so just roll over on your back. And I'm going to listen in all of these areas with the diaphragm and the bell of my stethoscope. Again, listening for any abnormal sounds, murmurs, gallops, friction rubs, or valve clicks. Mitral valve prolapse is best heard over the mitral area, and that would be with the patient back over in the left lateral decubitus position. Mitral regurgitation is the murmur that's going to be heard during systole, and then we would have aortic stenosis, which is also best heard during systole. And again, with the patient in all 3 positions, one leaning forward, supine, and left lateral decubitus position, I would listen to all heart sounds with the diaphragm and with the bell of my stethoscope. And then the next thing we would do would be the squat test. So I would have the patient stand. I'm going to put the stethoscope right near the mitral position. With the patient standing, and then we'll go ahead and have you squat. And with that one, as the patient squats, if the click sound goes away or if it diminishes, then we have a probability of a mitral valve prolapse. If the click sound is accelerated, then it's a probability for aortic stenosis. And then the next would be the Valsalva maneuver, so go ahead and have it. Here I'm going to listen in the mitral area or the lateral sternal border. We'll listen here with my hand over the patient's abdomen. Go ahead and bear down. Perfect. And with that, what I'm looking for is if the sound becomes louder while the patient is straining, then there's a probability for a mitral valve prolapse. If the sound diminishes while straining, then it would be a probability for aortic stenosis. The next part of my assessment is going to be to auscultate the abdominal aorta, renal arteries, iliac arteries, and femoral arteries. We're going to do that with the bell of my stethoscope. We'll have you lay in the supine position again, right on your back. And here we're going to listen with the bell of the stethoscope to the abdominal aorta, to the renal arteries, iliac arteries, and femoral arteries. And no bruit is noted in either one of those. So that concludes the cardiac assessment. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions for me?
No, ma'am.